The Taliban takeover of Kabul may have happened faster than planned, and seeing so many trying to flee is just heartbreaking. We have to ask, what is next as the Taliban is now in control?
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way just watching those images out of Afghanistan, especially at the airport as people were trying to escape. Professor of Politics and Global Studies at Imperial Valley College, Ric Epps, is joining us to continue this discussion. Good morning to you, Ric.
Hey, good morning. Good morning.
Yeah, you know, I think that's probably the image that just stands out the most, of people literally clinging onto a plane to try to get out. There's so many who could not leave, obviously. So let's talk about that first. What does this mean for those citizens who stay and can't get out of Afghanistan right now?
Well, it's hard to say right now. I mean, obviously, those who have lived through the last 20 years and have seen what occurred from between 1995 approximately and 2001 obviously know how repressive the previous version of Taliban had been, and by all indications, you know, based on historical evidence, we would expect a similar type of situation. So those folks with that history are just looking to get the heck out of Dodge, right, as much quickly as they can, especially the women and children, men too, but particularly women and children. And when the women particularly were just repressed in just a brutal way, just horrifically killed. I'm sure the images that you probably remember from back then, it just horrible, absolutely horrible. So it's going to be interesting to see what they develop and what they come to in this next version of them, if they're trying to legitimize themselves as a government.
And lots of unknowns, obviously. The Taliban is now, we're hearing, inviting women to join its government. What does the Taliban takeover mean for women? I mean, that goes against what the Taliban stands for.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. This is an interesting, you know, it depends on what the Taliban's next goal is. And I think they've achieved part of what they wanted. They wanted an Islamic State. They now got one in Afghanistan, which has been a failing state for, 40 years, really, just slowly dying a slow death with other entities trying to keep it going for so long. However, they have made these overtures saying, hey, wait, stay here. We're going to have an amnesty program. You know, we want women involved, blah, blah, blah. That's all good now. It just depends on whether it's real. Now, I would say to you on this end, if they really want to try and keep themselves or survive as a government entity, then those overtures are going to be important to gain support from the world, from the global order, right? And so, China, of course, China and Russia have already, made some overtures towards support and, saying, hey, let's give them a chance, sort of thing. Our taste, or the bad taste in our mouth, and based on what we've seen, it's just like we have to wait and see. But for the people on the ground, that's who you see. Several were killed trying to hold on to the plane while it was taking off, and that just tells a story of just the legacy of brutality. And because the Taliban have been a transnational actor, meaning they didn't reside in just one country. They're all over the region, particularly in Pakistan and in Afghanistan. But it's a regional entity. Now, if they fortify government infrastructure there, it bodes well for them to survive. It's just like in Iran, right? So if they can create and stabilize that regime and show some true overtures, then they may be able to survive. If they don't, then that could be a real problem.
Yeah, for so many people who are there, they're like, Taliban's taking control of our country now. No, we cannot live in that way. Obviously, those are why you see these images here. They don't want that to happen because there's fear, right? There's desperation for them to get out. I mean, they're still considered a terrorist group, right, Ric?
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's interesting. It's just like if you look at Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hezbollah is a terrorist group, considered a terrorist group, but they also are entrenched in the government there. And so it's good. This whole transition period is going to be interesting to see what happens. And if they can manage to calm the people, and if they also allow the people who want to get out to get out. If they try to, the borders are closed right now. They actually have control of the borders, so that could be problematic as well. If we don't get a hold of that and allow for a mechanism for those people who want to get out. But then you've got a refugee crisis as well, and that's also problematic when we have other refugee crises around the region. So yeah, Ric, it's a messy situation.
We're running out of time, but one last question. We've got 40 seconds. The president saying this exit was far from perfect. Do you have an opinion when we should have left?
It's interesting. There was never a good time, right? Anytime you have political wars, they never have a happy ending. And over 5 presidencies, there was never a good time. That they made a wrong prediction, thought it wouldn't happen as quick as it did, but. Yeah, I don't think there was really ever a good time. It's just he decided to pull the trigger, and he owns his stuff, and I mean, he's going to get laid in his lap. But I think it was, it's a no-win situation. So if we go back in again, we better make sure we have a good foreign policy before we step back into that situation again.
All right, Ric, thank you very much for that. We appreciate the conversation.
Thank you. Have a good day.